Here at Shepherd's Fashions at the Trainyards. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Are we live on Instagram, Stephanie?
Oh,
and Instagram
no,
as well.
we're not.
We're not. So it is the 25th of June, and today is Ask Me Anything with Marlene Shepherd.
All right, I'll
She was here really early this morning. She wanted to see the questions, but I said no. I feel like Barbara Walters.
Diane Sawyer, okay?
Okay. So you sent in a lot of great questions. Some of them were really fun. And I encourage you to ask more questions as we go on. I'm going to load this up on my iPad and I'll be able to read your questions and then ask them to Marlene. And these are all viewer questions. None of this comes from staff. It all comes from viewers. How are you feeling?
Whose idea was this? I just want to get...
I think I brought it up.
Okay. All right.
Because so many people wrote in when Elaine and Aya and Irina asked, what would you like to see more of? And the number one answer was more information about our staff. So of course we wanted to start with Marlene.
Okay, I'll start. I'll be the guinea pig.
Okay, all right. So we're going to start with some easy ones. What's your
right.
favorite perfume?
Oh, you know what it is? It's the Red Door by Elizabeth Arden.
Okay.
I have always worn that, but now I don't wear it very much anymore because we're no fragrance
Everywhere,
right? So it's hard. But yeah, that was my favorite.
That was your favorite. Okay. And let's see here. Where do we go from here? Oh, you do not have a store in the U.S. or Halifax. Would you ever consider it?
No, not at my age.
Not at your age?
No.
If this was 25 years ago?
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think with the online store, we reach people worldwide.
Right.
And try to deliver a great experience with shopping at Shepherd's. But yeah, could be.
Okay.
Could be, but not in my future.
Okay. Oh, that leads us to another question.
Okay.
Is there a succession plan after you retire?
Well, the question is when I retire, if I retire.
That's the big question.
That's the big question. That's what everybody wants to know?
That came up 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times.
3 questions.
Okay.
What's the succession plan?
So
everybody's waiting.
Everybody in this room is waiting. My daughter's waiting. My son is waiting. You know what? I just turned 73 this year, and I have no aspirations to retire.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do if I retired because I have no hobbies. I'm not talented in anything, so I'm not going to knit, go skiing, go golfing, or whatever.
Okay.
So business to me gives me the challenge and gives me the get up and go in the morning, as long as I can maybe come in a little later or maybe leave a little earlier or take a long weekend here or there or an extra vacation, because I have such great people that work with us, as you know, that it allows me to have that freedom. So I think my mind has to keep rolling, and I love business for the business sense.
And how old was your mom when she retired?
She was 80.
Right.
80, that's
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and she was 97 when she passed away.
Yeah.
And always,
she'd still come in.
She would still, yes, she would still come in. And everybody would stand to attention, right? I would call her every day, and she still had an interest in it.
She
so,
did,
yes,
yeah. Well, that leads us into another question. What do you look for when you're hiring someone?
Wow. Well, you know what? I look for a positive energy. I look for excitement and drive. I look for somebody that's, I always say this to a lot of the staff members. I look to people who know where the puck is going. You being as a hockey mom, you know what that means. And that's what I'm always trying to find out, is somebody who can think ahead, be proactive, not wait to be told or asked to do something, but kind of has ideas. Because as you know, in this environment, we're very much inclusive. We like to build consensus. And so I love everybody's viewpoint.
Yep.
Not necessarily always take it.
Yep.
But I love to have that feedback. And I think that's what makes good decisions, is lots of ideas.
Okay.
And then somewhere along the line, somebody needs to make a decision.
Yes. Okay, and another question is, how did you start the online and all the videos? I mean, I was there, so I remember this, but this is a story a lot of people were interested in.
How we started it? Well, you know what? We started the videos. I remember I love watching Fried Zakaria on Sunday mornings. That's my day of relaxation. And I was watching that, and then I was also watching some Facebook and whatever it was, something on social media. And I saw there was this store in Antigonish,
Yes, I
Nova
remember
Scotia. And they had a Facebook Live video of customer coming in the store or staff member trying on clothes. And I thought, wow, that is really cool.
It was the first time we ever saw that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they were so ahead of it, right?
Yeah.
And the store does not exist anymore. And my
Oh.
daughter actually went to school in Antigonish and worked in that store
I
for
remember
a year.
that, yeah.
So a great store. Wonderful
too bad.
woman. I talked with her years later. And so I came in one day, Stephanie was my assistant that day before she was VP, and I said, Stephanie, I saw this, I thought it was so great, and I said, do you think we could do something like that? And of course the first words out of her mouth were, let's do it. Let's try it. And that's been our motto
Yeah.
here, right?
Let's
Let's
just
just
try
try
it.
it. Try it. What have you got to lose? So that's how it started, in a little boardroom.
Do you
and-
remember we did it? It
Yes.
was the boardroom, which has now been divided into Stephanie's office and customer service, but we did it in that boardroom. Remember, Stephanie? We were way at the back and we were trying to figure out, it was
Yeah.
pretty rough, but I'm sure you can find that on YouTube. Can you?
Talk about bad lighting.
Yeah, bad lighting. It was terrible.
Bad lighting, bad sound, bad
Yeah.
everything. But we were so
The
excited.
beginning. That was
It the beginning.
of it.
So that was, Stephanie, I don't know if you can even tell which year that was, but it was way before COVID anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time before.
And then it just, I mean, you know, and then everybody got involved. Elaine started doing them, and we just started doing videos. I think we were doing Fashion Friday was first.
Yeah, and then Wardrobe Wednesday, Lisa's idea was to do, I think it was The Skirt by Joseph Ribkoff, and that became our first Wardrobe Wednesday.
Oh, good memory.
Yeah, and it was really rough at the time. Then we moved to the store because the lighting was so bad.
Well, Elaine
Yes.
loved, we have big windows in our
Yeah.
store, big front windows, so let all this lovely sunshine light in. So that's
Yeah.
where we graduated to.
and we moved it out there, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, keep
So
going, yeah.
here's a really fun question. If you hadn't gone into the retail fashion business, what career path might you have chosen?
Well, I went to journalism school at Algonquin, so when I was in radio for the first radio and TV for the first 3.5 years. But then I realized it wasn't for me. I didn't have the background in education, I didn't go to university, I just went to college for a year. So it was, you know, I was up on Parliament Hill, you know, interviewing cabinet ministers and Prime Minister Trudeau, and it was like, I don't have the background for this, I don't have the knowledge, I wasn't smart enough to do this. But they wanted a female at that time because
Okay.
women were just new into this, was like 72, 73. So they wanted women on air and on the radio because they wanted the female perspective. So that's why they had me, because I was able to do it. But I was very uncomfortable, and I knew it was, I knew I was way over my head. Somebody would figure out, like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know the right questions to answer. So I got out of it, went to Europe for a year,
Yes.
and lived over in Europe and traveled and just wanted to travel, really was my first love. And then came back and was just looking for a career. And then Algonquin College, I went before that to radio and television, but when I came back, 240 Spark Street opened here in Ottawa, and I don't know if you
yes.
remember that. Holt Renfrew was in one,
Yeah, they were
and
the
it was
anchor.
the first beautiful shopping center in Ottawa. And my mother looked at that, and mother said, you know, we should open up a store there. And my father had passed away a few years before that. My mother was a businesswoman because she had
Yeah,
a country
always.
hotel.
Yeah.
I grew up in a hotel from the time I was 6 months old until I was 21. So I was doing cabins at 10 and I was in the, you know, the kitchen and serving meals, and then in the bar when I was older. I could do that. So she wanted to get into a business too. So hence we thought 240 Spark Street was beautiful. It had, I think, about 23 stores,
Yeah.
and that's where we opened our kiosk in 1978,
Wow.
in December.
And I remember your mom saying to me once that she had always wanted to open a store and she had wanted to do it, and she was thinking, I need somebody, and then she thought, why not Marlene?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I
Yeah.
guess I was 26 at the time, and yeah, so it was a perfect. We had similar taste,
Yeah.
and we got along really well. And she was, you know, we took turns because the kiosk, we were open in those days. You were closed on Sundays and only
Yeah, I
open
remember
2
that.
nights.
Yeah.
So we ran that kiosk for just the two of us
you.
for a few years,
Yeah.
and then 5 years later we opened up our store in the Rideau Center.
Wow.
And then you had 2 stores and you couldn't be in
Yeah.
both, right?
So you needed staff.
Yeah, then we started to get more and more staff.
So speaking about travel, somebody was wondering, what is the favorite place you've ever traveled to and why?
Somewhere where I've been. Wow. You know, I really enjoyed Vietnam. Went there.
Oh, I remember you
Yes,
went
I
there.
really- I went
That was
there.
before COVID.
Yes,
Yeah.
just before
Just
COVID
before,
hit.
yeah.
Actually, we came home in February,
Yeah.
and it hit in March.
That's right. I remember that.
That was really a memorable trip. Venice is one of my favorite cities, though.
Okay.
It's beautiful. And recently we went to Antarctica, my husband
Yeah.
and I, and that was not on my bucket list, but it turned out to be really quite an adventure.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of your husband, there were lots of requests to see your husband and your family. So we have an insert.
All right.
Let's see here. We'll have a look at it. Are we there yet, Stephanie? I'm on a delay here.
All right.
We are some beautiful photos of Marlene and Francis and Rachel and Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, we've been on a few cruises, Francis and I. Yes, our
Robert,
son joined, and Rachel.
That was here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, well, you know, we married late, right? Francis and I had been single until we were 40.
Yeah.
And we met, and that was it. So married at 41, and I had Robert at 42 and Rachel at 44. So
Yeah.
we did things at the other end of the
Yeah.
spectrum.
Yeah.
Did them later in life.
Yeah, but everybody wanted to see pictures of them.
Yeah, well.
So that was fun. Here's a fun question. I would like to know which fashion designer, deceased or living, she would like to sip and talk with.
Oh, probably Chanel.
Oh,
For
okay.
sure. Yeah,
Coco Chanel.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why?
Well, I think iconic. I love her style. I think she was, you know, just she stuck to her roots. So elegant, timeless. You know, how was she able to capture that, and make it so iconic that it stands the test of time, and every age loves it, right?
Yeah. It is timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did she do that, right? What was the secret sauce?
Okay, well then this kind of leads into the same thing. Is there one thing that you wished you had done or would still like to do in business?
Wow. No, not really. No.
No?
No. No. I've never been somebody with goals and dreams of doing something. It just evolved. Everything always, I just tried to make a decision when something was at my doorstep.
Yeah.
And say, oh, that
Or
that
you'll
looks
see
good.
something on the weekend and then
Yeah.
we'll talk about it
Yeah.
and then that will be
I'm not
something.
that long-term person, and I never was in the business. It
That's
was kind
true.
of like, right?
It's so true.
It's kind of day-to-day for me.
It's
or
day to day
tomorrow.
here. We could have a big goal this afternoon that's like, it just comes out of imagination.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just never been a planner like that.
Okay.
Ever. So no, there's nothing. I'm thrilled the way it all turned out, right? And to me, it's the challenge of what because there's so many obstacles that come in your way in business.
Yeah.
You've been in business.
Yeah.
You've had your own store.
Yeah.
You know
And it's day to day.
It's day to day, and you don't know what's around the corner. Look at these tariffs, or it could be a world recession, or the COVID. There's so many of those, those impediments that come along naturally that you can't anticipate.
No, you can't
And you
plan.
just have to be ready. You're going to sort of be on your toes and pivot and try to solve that. And that's the challenge of a business that I enjoy anyway.
So that leads into this one. What is the hardest part about your business? And what is the best decision you've ever made?
Oh boy, the hardest part of the business. Hardest part. Well, I think just trying to keep up, just trying to stay on top of it and ahead of everybody. And I've always said, everybody knows that, because if you stand still,
Yeah.
your competition and they just run over you. So you've got to keep forging ahead, trying new things, experimenting. I mean, it's not a serious business in that we're dealing with fashion.
Right.
I mean, how much fun is that, right?
Yeah.
It's not like investments where it could be
Yes.
really detrimental.
Yeah.
So you pick the wrong thing in your
Yeah.
store.
We pick better next time.
Yeah. It's a markdown. It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. And what is the
What is the best business decision you've ever made?
Well, there's been many. It's hard to say one in particular, but definitely going online and definitely opening the store here at Trainyards. Yeah, that was a big monumental change
Yeah.
in retail.
A different direction completely
Yeah,
from
I
where
mean,
you were in the
we
mall.
grew up in malls,
Yeah.
right? And you
And at that time, you still had Bayshore and Rideau.
yeah, and we had one at Tanger,
Yes,
and we had
that's
one
right.
at 240. We had 3 stores usually at once, and in big malls, right, where they dictated how the hours you were open and
Mm-hmm.
the budgets you had for marketing, etc. And you know, it was a heavy pace, but then you could start to see the decline. You know, you could
Malls,
start to
yeah.
see it happening. And fortunate enough, when leases were coming up, we made the decision, which is a tough one to say,
I remember that.
we're going to pull the plug and not stay.
Especially Rideau.
Yeah,
Because it was
Rideau.
a beautiful store.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a flagship at that time for us.
Yes,
But,
exactly.
Yeah, but then the
Yeah.
lease came, and then I remember about a year later, you said it was the best decision was to get out of there.
Well,
at
I mean,
that time.
it is now. You can
Yeah.
see what's happened to
Yeah.
malls now, and obviously the rents, and that's what attracted me to Trainyards, where it was very central in Ottawa.
Yeah.
It was a huge store, so it had all the square footage we wanted, and we wanted to do events and fashion shows and everything, all kinds of things, exciting things in
did.
the store.
Yeah.
And all this free parking right outside, you could drive up to the door almost.
Yeah.
That's what made it so appealing.
And
for
it was
me.
close to Rideau.
Yeah, I mean,
we
we're
were minutes.
We're only one exit
Yeah.
on the Queensway
Yeah.
to downtown Ottawa.
Yeah.
So kind of a gem. Like you might get this in the suburbs.
Yes.
But to have something like this so close,
Yeah.
so central, train station right here.
Yeah.
I mean, some customers come from the airport.
I
right?
know, because
And
it's
pop
easy to
here.
get here. We
Yeah,
see them come with their bags.
It's 20 minutes
with
from
an
the airport.
Uber.
Yes.
And they arrive at the door with their bags.
Yeah.
I've come from Halifax.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Yeah.
Just before my meeting, I'm
Yeah,
pop in.
and
so.
we do. We get that a lot, even
Yeah.
more so now
Yeah,
since the
yeah,
videos.
Yeah.
So somebody wants to know about up and coming trends, colors, things like that that you see and you like for fall.
That I like, okay. Well, I mean, I think brown, if you're going to talk colors, brown's supposed to
Yes.
be a big color. You've seen this, and
Yeah.
olives and greens. Now, this has been in and out of fashion. After 47 years, you've seen it all come and
Yeah.
go. And so lots of things sort of on trend, wide pant, longer pants, you know, maybe crochet tops or,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, but I think more importantly, I think you and I remember, and so many of our ladies that watch our shows, remember, boy, when a trend was in, you wore the trend.
Yeah.
You know, you wore it because there was 5 or 10 trends of the year and you had to have it on. Well, over time that eroded because, you know, the customer decided that it wasn't for them. It wasn't their look and they weren't comfortable. And finally designers listened to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest change that has occurred in fashion, because we'd all go to the magazines, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which we don't do now.
No,
Everything's
not at all.
online, right?
Yeah, and
I mean,
it's
you go to
more-
what, Pinterest, and you
Yeah,
go to
it's more creators
Instagram.
than magazine pictures.
Yeah,
Because
right.
some of those looks were so unattainable.
Absolutely.
You know?
And not meant for every body shape and every type. So finally, I think designers were listening to what consumers were saying over a long period of time. And now I really like the place we're at now because they'll show you some trends, but it seems to be multiple things.
Yes.
So it's not like one top 10 and that's it.
Yeah.
Wear what looks good on you, that you feel good in, and they make it for that.
Yeah, and we see that
Don't
when
you
we're
find
buying.
that when we're buying?
Yeah, we can see sometimes a color trend or a style trend, and then we'll see something right out of the blue that's different in everybody's collections.
Yeah.
Like it's not always exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, colors we see, but we look for different things as well. We're not just looking for trends when we're
Right.
out buying.
Right.
You know, we're looking for stretch and we're looking for all of these
Exactly.
things that we know customers want. So we look at it a little differently
Yeah.
than maybe everybody else.
Yeah, you're right. And then stretch too, that
Yeah.
element of fashion has
Yeah.
been a game changer.
We often eliminate because it's
Yeah.
no stretch,
I
even
mean,
if we like it.
I remember Linda Lundstrom, who was a
Oh, yeah,
fabulous
that's nice.
designer and still is, and her clothes, she would make a waistband on a skirt with 2 sets of seams in the
Oh,
waistband,
wow.
so that if you gained an inch or if you just needed
Yeah.
an inch more because nothing's stretched, I'm
Yeah.
going back 25, 30 years ago, you could just rip open the seam, and she'd have maybe 2 buttons here so you could adjust it. So how forward thinking, but the beginning
Yeah.
of the start of we want things are going to fit us.
for comfort.
Comfort, right? And of course the fabrics weren't available back then, but again, manufacturers were demanding this of the fabric store, of
And then it
fabric
changes.
makers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we hardly buy anything that unless
No,
it stretches.
imagine like a jean that doesn't
Oh,
stretch,
yeah.
trying to sit down in that, it would be horrible.
Well, that's why I don't like jeans. I remember those old jeans. It didn't stretch.
No, they didn't. They were terrible. So, okay. And have you started writing your story? You get asked that a lot.
No, I haven't.
Will you?
There's lots of stories like mine. They're every day. You know what I think? Every person that walks in your life, in the store, everywhere, has a great story to tell.
Yeah.
They all have a great story. If you delve into it, they're inspirational. They're what they have come up against in their life, what they've dealt with, whether it's health or relationship or business. There's so many interesting stories,
Yeah.
So
We hear a lot of great stories here with our
absolutely,
staff, with our customers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there is a lot of
So
stories.
yeah. So no, I haven't.
So don't look for the book.
That would be the book, the customer stories.
Exactly.
That would be the
Exactly. I think inspiring, Stephanie. I mean,
Absolutely.
I often have us in tears to hear some of the stories that customers have shared with us.
Yeah.
And those are the ones you remember all of the 47 years, dealing with public, because they confide in you sometimes and they'll tell
Yeah,
you.
the girls on the floor hear all the stories because they're often in the change room, and they'll
yeah.
come back and say, "You won't believe what
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
lady just told me."
What people go through and what
Yeah.
they've been through.
And people come here at very vulnerable times. We've had people who come on the day of a funeral because they didn't have anything that they felt was nice to wear, or there's a lot of very heartfelt stories
Absolutely.
that people tell us here, and they're in the change room. They're very vulnerable. Some people come in and they've known the staff for so long they feel they can cry together and share these things. So we
Yep.
do hear that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was shocked actually when I came at the stories that the girls would tell me on the floor, and I just couldn't believe it. But there's a lot of rapport here over 40 years.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yeah, and sometimes you just need that support, and even if it's somebody you don't know, if you
Yeah.
feel
comfortable.
comfortable and you can get it off
Yeah.
your chest, it makes you feel better. And-
Yeah, and some people will come just for a bit of therapy.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's what I call it, retail
Staff
therapy,
too.
right?
How long have you been promoting body positivity? That's an interesting
well,
question.
I think all my career, all my life, because it's something I've always fought. Weight's always been my obstacle all the time. So yeah, it was always, you were never slim enough. You were, you always needed to lose 10 or 15 pounds or 20 pounds and more pounds as the years went on. So yeah, so it was always an important aspect.
Did you feel that kind of message, because that was a message from a long time ago, where people would say, oh, you need to lose a little weight, or oh, you need to fit into this. Did you feel that changed how you felt about body positivity and made you want to feel more positive and make that a message for women?
And maybe, I don't know.
Maybe subconsciously?
Maybe subconsciously, because I don't think it was conscious. I think it's just something that's, rubbed in your face all the time as
Yeah.
you're growing up as a woman, right? And who struggled with it. So it was always there, and then you try to lose weight or you try to be what people thought.
Yeah.
These are before the Instagram and the,
Well, this was
social
before
media
all
time,
this
right?
positive message about age and weight and all
Yeah.
of this that we hear every day on
That's
the
right,
videos.
yeah.
But I know some of the ladies here have said, that their whole life they felt that,
Yeah.
and they're so happy that it's changed.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's it. And I don't know whether that comes with age and just
Yeah.
letting go and saying,
Being more comfortable.
yeah, just saying this is what it is. I don't know what it is, right? Because it certainly has evolved for me.
Yeah.
It was a struggle, but so in our buying, that was always important for us to include all kinds of. But back then, you didn't kind of know the rules.
It wasn't a message then.
Yeah, it wasn't like what is the best shape for an apple
Yeah.
shape or a pear shape, or
Yeah.
you didn't know what shapes were basically, right?
So years ago when you were buying with your mom, did you look for those things at that time, trying to include all women? Because that's certainly our message now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so, because we would go to these buying trips, and my mother was always like, she was 140 pounds. She
never changed.
She never changed, and she
never
was
aged. She just was like always the same.
yeah. And she was like 5'4",
Yeah.
but she had, I think she was an hourglass.
Yeah.
So she had that perfect figure.
Yes, she did.
Much better figure than me, of course. And so when we would go into the showrooms, they'd have a house model to try things on. And the house model, who would be like, 5'8" and
Yes.
a size 2, would try it on. And I'd say, I said, Mom, can you put it on? And then on a 5'4", 140 pounds, size 12, and I said, whoa, that looks great. And if it looks great on you, it's going to look good on I know it's going to look good on 5'8", size 2 in some cases. Sometimes they didn't fill it out enough.
But we have that now.
Yeah,
Often
yeah.
we go buying, and if we don't have one of our staff, the person that's trying it on is 5'9" and a size 2, and of course it's all great. And then afterwards, it's like, oh God.
But the clothes
that's not
don't fit
good.
on them. There's
Yeah.
no
They can't fill it
feminine
out.
curves to it or
Yeah.
something.
They're not our average customer.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it's better if it's somebody a little bustier, a little curvier, and then
Yeah.
we see that. And Marlene always looks like, and she'll say to the model, well, of course it looks good on you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we need to think of everybody.
Yeah, so she would always be our muse when we
Right.
would go buying. And we've been buying, I get you to try it on,
Yeah.
Elaine try it on. The more bodies that can try on a garment
Yeah.
is better, because then you need to sort of, that's where you make your decision, right? It's going to be, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's only really is going to be best on this shape or that
And
shape.
we'll still do it sometimes if it's a piece we love and we know it's only for somebody tall or only for somebody petite, because that's okay too. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when you and your mom had the business together, did you have different roles? Or did you do the same things?
Yeah, no, I usually looked after staff,
Yeah.
human resources, hiring and that sort of thing, and more operational. Operational. We had a cash register that had departments, so it's not
Right.
like today with computer systems, right?
Yeah. Very
And-
different, though.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she would help with the buying, of course.
Yeah,
So
she had
she'd be
great
pretty
taste,
essential
too.
in the buying. We'd always go on our buying trips to New York or
Yes.
Atlanta or whatever else, Toronto, and so that, and she would, but I think the human resource pie and the technical side of the business she left to me. Remember, she was like 59, 60 when we opened the business. So and she was the type of mother that she pushed you up front to give you the spotlight.
That's nice.
She didn't
Yeah.
want the spotlight, and so she wanted to give you, but supported you as you went through that journey, kind of. So she was there. Not that we didn't get into disputes about things, that's for sure. She was pretty strong-willed.
Yes.
But she was that supportive mother that pushed you up front. You take the spotlight, you do it. So I do the events, and
Yeah.
if we did a TV show, she was too shy. She wouldn't do that. So
Really?
Yeah.
She was shy?
Yeah, yes,
I never
yeah,
would
she
have
was
thought
very
that, because
shy.
she was so outspoken and...
Oh, yeah, that-
Oh, good, that too.
she was outspoken, but she was shy. She was shy.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And did you ever think your brothers would come into the business?
No, never,
No, they
never.
never had an interest.
No,
in-
one time.
Well, Peter did work here.
Yeah, Peter did our runs during COVID.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. when
He
Peter
did a
was
few
here.
modeling gigs for us, right?
He did. I can say that because I filmed him for our scarf video that we had one Christmas, and we were laughing so hard. He said, we're going to get fired. I said, probably.
Oh, well, he has a great sense of humor.
He's very funny.
He's funny, and he's so cute. I remember Mother and I, when we first opened our kiosk, and we had to go to New York to buy, and it was like January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Okay.
But the store had to be open, so we left Peter in charge of the kiosk at 240 Spark Street.
Oh my gosh.
I think our sales totaled $10 for 3 days.
He probably gave up on the cash register.
Oh, it was.
That would be very funny. I'd love to know if anybody passed by during those
Bought those $10 earrings from him.
because he's very funny.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised, but they all lived out west. So
Well, they
it was
did.
just
Yeah,
you and your mom here.
my older brother, he moved out when he was 18, and
Yeah.
I was like 13. So, he moved out to Vancouver, his kids and everything. And my younger Peter also moved out when he
Yeah.
was 24, just after we opened the store.
Yeah.
So.
There was never a chance.
No, there was they were never interested in it, not at all.
Stephanie, did we get any questions online? I mean, everybody's loving this.
Oh my goodness, lots of questions,
Oh,
actually,
okay, hit
lots
me.
and lots.
Oops.
But there's quite a few that I think we've already answered, so maybe on the replay people can get some answers there. A lot of people are chiming in saying they did wear Linda Lundstrom when you
Yeah.
had it. A lot of
I
people
saw
remember
that.
you from 240 Sparks. A couple of people are wondering if we have any updates on our Summer Soirée.
Oh,
Well, we're working on that today. We do have the date, January 29th.
July.
What did I say?
January.
Yeah.
Bitter
thank you.
cold.
See how
Christmas.
this is the support. You need to support me here. July 29th.
Tuesday, July 29th.
Yes. And we're just determining the time exactly, but it'll be in the early evening. And so
And
that
it will be here.
Oh yeah, it's here in the store in the
Yeah,
Trainyards.
the Trainyards.
I think Elaine made that suggestion, and
Yeah.
we might as well just meet here because there seems to be some interest in it.
But this is a perfect example if ladies are wondering how things work here. It started with an idea, you just started talking, Lise was on camera, and you said after the video, wouldn't it be fun if Lise and Linda and Teresa went out for a girls' night and our social media team followed them. And then it turned into, well, why don't we go to Elaine's restaurant
Who wants to
and
join
staff
us?
will go. Yeah, who's going to join us? And then it turned into Elaine saying, well, why don't we do it at the store? So many people haven't been here. So there's an example if ladies are wondering how things start here. It starts with an idea that usually Marlene will throw out.
Usually.
Somebody will say something else, someone will say something, and then before you know it, it's a different concept,
Yeah.
but it's come from a whole bunch of people
Yeah.
at different times.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's how that's how we do our planning here.
That's how we do. It is true, and that is how we plan.
Yeah,
There's
it's-
an element of trust here we have with each other to say, love it, we can improve upon it, here's another idea,
Yeah.
and nobody is going, oh gosh, that hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
and
trust.
sometimes
We
someone will
trust
say,
each
hey,
other.
I'm just going to throw this out, I don't like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's up to you, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we'll do it sometimes, and
Yeah.
sometimes the idea will change, and sometimes it'll just get squashed. So,
right,
but
yeah.
that's kind of how it happens. It happened just from Lise being on camera saying, oh, I know, it was from the Rock t-shirt.
Well, yeah, and she was talking about how
Yeah.
because she likes to go out in the town.
Yes.
And Rochelle, I was like, can you imagine those two on the
Exactly.
town? Wouldn't allow a night out with those two, right? And
Yeah.
then it was, oh, I'd love it too. The comments, well, okay,
Why don't we do it?
something?
And so it changed from going a night on the town to here, and it just all came from different people
Yeah.
and different ideas, and Elaine saying, let's do it here.
Yeah.
I have another question. Can you please describe the evolution of Shepherd's private label?
Wow, the evolution.
wow.
Well, it goes way, way back because we used to do home parties where I had Diane Craig and Wendy Booth, and we did home parties back when we had 3 stores at the time when home parties were the thing. And they would take all this jewelry and they would take a black dress, wear a black dress, and they would show that black dress accessorized 10 or 15 different ways with just accessories. So, and that was the show, that was the home party, and I used to do seminars with that.
Yes.
To groups of women who were coming into Ottawa, and we would do a seminar, often with Wendy Booth as my model, and it was about accessories because that's how we started. So, but everybody would say, well, where's that black dress? I want that black dress. So Tu Lee worked with us at the very beginning of time. And
I know
he's-
this story,
And
yes.
he's, that's another story.
That's a long story, but it's a good
wonderful, wonderful designer, works for Moose Knuckles
Yeah.
now in the marketing, and I designed my wedding dress.
Yes.
And anyway, so I asked him if he would design a little black dress for us, of which he did, and we sold it. So I'm going back, 30 years ago. So it started then. Occasionally we've done it, but more recently we've decided, because I think trying to find it on the market has been a bit difficult to get to our customer. I think we know the customer likes stretch, she wants
Yeah.
casual, but but polished casual.
Yeah, we were
Not
that was
sloppy casual.
Kind of at the beginning of this athleisure thing.
Yeah.
Where we were kind of trying to get there, but we couldn't always find the pieces and then Lisa's always saying, Marlene, private label,
Yes.
private label. Like, Lisa would private label everything.
Yes.
She
Yes.
loves that idea.
Yes, she would.
So
Yeah.
it kind of went
Yeah.
from there. It just kind of transpired. We liked this idea of athleisure, but we couldn't find a lot of it at that time. So it was,
Yeah.
why didn't we just do
So
it?
we said, and then of course we wanted something made in Canada, and
Yes.
that's harder and harder to reach,
Yeah.
ladies. It's just, I know it's very frustrating. People want it made in Canada
Yeah.
or made in the U.S., but there are just fewer and fewer manufacturing facilities. The dyeing of fabric is, there's
fabric mills don't
fabric
really
mills.
exist
It's
in
just
North America anymore.
This whole cycle, right, the whole
Yeah.
supply line is just very, very difficult. But there's still a few.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, Gilmore was one that we used, and they used a factory in Vancouver. So when they closed down, obviously we sort of took over
Yeah.
that opening for the factory to make clothes for us.
And that's where we were able to do a lot more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I think we've got 4 drops of private label coming up this fall.
I think even a
4 or
bit
5?
more. We've got it all the way to October right now, and we haven't even gone past that.
And
so
what was every 2 weeks, right?
we're going to go every 2 weeks with private labels. So we've done a lot. We spent a whole day thinking about what to do, different fabrics, and how to keep this going, because it's really a beast you need to feed. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
too much time passes. So
And of course, when we did a show asking you your opinion.
Yes.
Remember that show?
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun, and we took your suggestions on a lot of
Yes.
things, and we're going to name the garments after staff members.
Yeah.
Kirsten has her top. Kirsten's top. Was Trudy's dress, Rachel's dress.
Yes, so now we're
Kirsten's.
going,
So-
because you've run out of family
Yes.
too.
I don't know, Robert's dress doesn't quite sound
no,
the same.
no, it's not as
Or
appealing.
Peter's pant is...
There you go, Peter's pants.
Although we
Perfect.
definitely could do that, but anybody that met Marlene's brother would know he'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah. So we took a lot of your suggestions, and hopefully you enjoyed it. So, I mean, obviously, we're here to serve our customers.
That's right.
So what you want is what we want to produce. Obviously, if there's a consensus for it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of individuality. Some people want it longer and shorter,
Yes.
and we try to find a happy medium.
And sometimes we're split in between. So half want it long and half want it short. So where do
What
we go?
do? Yeah. And then there's minimums we have to
Yes.
account for.
That's
do
been
they
tricky.
do they have the fabric? Where is the fabric? How much do we have to buy? They want the money up front. And there's all kinds of technical back end issues that
Customers never see.
you don't see, but
Yeah.
helps, that's how we have to make our decisions.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Because all of that behind the scenes, you see the beautiful product on the camera, and that's the end result of sometimes months of changes, having to change the fabric because they couldn't get the fabric, and then now there's more of a minimum or less, and it's
Yeah.
can we get enough, and do we buy it, do we do a pre-order? There's so much that
Testing
goes
of
into it.
fabrics and everything. So,
Yeah, the fabric swatches come, it doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same.
And
So
you think a color's going to be good, and then it's not good. It does,
Yeah.
you don't buy it, and so yeah.
yeah,
Anyway.
it's tough.
Leah says, I'd buy Peter's pants, especially if he came with them.
Many customers did say that there were many women who asked him out on dates,
Yeah,
remember?
he's still single. He's still single. He's in White Rock.
If anybody's wondering.
If
anyone's
anybody
close
lives out
by.
there, we'll post his address. So, 'cause there were many ladies
He's often
that
said, "I'd make deliveries in White Rock for you."
I bet he would. So yeah, he did our deliveries. Remember, he even had he put the Shepherd sign on the car. He had your mom's car.
But the best part was that was during COVID,
Yeah.
and my mother was in a senior's residence.
Yes.
And I said, "Okay, Peter, this is the best thing: is pick Mom up and take her on your delivery route with you, because that's
my
exactly what
gosh.
she would love to do." She had dementia for the last year and a half, but not severe.
No.
But she'd sit in the front seat with her son and wave to customers. And the best part, she said, "I love to see my son working."
She would say stuff like that.
She loved it. So he,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He'd take her 3 times, and they'd go for an ice cream cone at the
Oh,
end.
yeah.
And then he'd take her back home and have
That
dinner
was
with her.
so fun, and he said that was so
good.
important to him.
And it
to
was
have that
because
time.
he's been away since he
Yeah.
was 24, and he came back when he was 60.
Yeah.
So he was really able
He
to
spent a lot of time with her. He
right?
lived at the house with her
While
for
we
a
were
while.
renovating it,
Yeah.
and yes, oh yeah, so many stories.
And the garage sale.
Oh, yeah.
He worked the garage sale. He was very funny. And Marlene's mom was funny because when she used to come into the store, she'd come to the fashion show, she'd sit at the front, and then after the show, she'd want to sit at the change room.
Yes, exactly.
She'd want to give everyone her advice.
Yes, no, yes, no. Take that off.
It was like say yes to the dress.
And one time we had her friend for tea. Do you remember?
Oh.
We did tea at the front of the store.
yes.
Oh, that's the cutest story. So this
Yeah.
lady calls my mother, and they went to high school together.
That was
Okay?
crazy.
St. Bridget's, a convent. They were grade 12. Now remember, they're like 85 now.
Yeah.
They haven't seen each other since grade 12.
It's crazy.
And so they made arrangements to meet up at the store.
The store.
Right here, and have tea during one of our fashion shows.
Oh,
How many
gosh.
years have passed? We're talking, what, 60 years?
Yeah.
And they meet each other, and the lady turns to me and she says, "She hasn't changed a bit." I recognize her anywhere.
Oh my goodness. Your mom would like that.
Oh, yeah, she loved that.
She'd like that.
But they were so cute. They would have tea
That's
together.
right, and they
yes.
sat there and they had tea, and then they did end up, critiquing people's outfits and how they.
I don't know how the customers like that, but they love it.
But she was funny. She'd do it in a funny way. She'd, "That's not for you."
Yeah.
She'd just tell them.
Don't tell me what you really think.
Yeah, I
right?
know. But she was good at it. And because she was the matriarch of the store, I think people liked it.
Yeah, they just-
they'd like to see her, and they'd all come up and say hi, even introduce themselves, and that was fun.
Yeah.
Because we used to do big events here.
Yes.
Big events.
We'd
Oh
have,
my gosh.
I mean, I think we'd have up to 175 people
Yeah.
here. Fashion shows. We had a runway in the middle of our
Remember the
store.
chairs?
Oh, I know, because I put so many of them away after the show.
With the
Yes.
chairs, we had a room of chairs on this device that hung, and we had to put them out, put them back. And remember, we do Fashion Week.
Yes.
And we
Oh,
would
every
do
day.
sometimes 2 or 3 shows a day for an entire week.
Yeah.
And it would be exciting. We'd have food, we'd have guest models. Oh my goodness, it was
Lynn
huge.
Spence would come
Yes,
and host
that was
us.
fun.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
we did the cruise.
Yeah,
So
we did the cruise,
we did
that's
the
right. You and
cruise.
Elaine came
We
with
get
us.
a lot of people asking, will you ever do another cruise?
I'm going to leave that to the next generation.
She's staying home.
Don't you find, ladies, as you get older, you kind of, I think you just get quieter.
We
You
had
just-
60 women on that cruise,
Yes,
so
I
it was
know.
no small feat.
No.
This was not like
And
a
what you
little
were doing,
get-together.
I loved what Kirsten was doing. I don't know what time in the middle of the night. We had little gifts for people that we would put on their little surprise
Tie
gifts
on the door.
And she put them on their door at night after they went to bed, so they'd wake up and they'd have there would be a little gift from
and I'd be out in
Shepherd's.
my pajamas. Elaine and I would be out in our pajamas, like no makeup, hair a mess, tying these on. But it was a big cruise. It was not little. So
And
yeah.
that was with Sheila Gallant from Lush
Yes,
Travel.
and
She did a great job of
We had
organizing
so
them
many
all.
ladies. Ladies flew in from the U.S.
Myra from the
Canada,
Yukon.
From the Yukon,
Yeah.
we had ladies from I think Edmonton.
Yeah.
I mean they were from everywhere.
Yeah.
So and we felt responsible for them and make sure you're having a good time.
They
but
had a good
it was a
time.
lot. So
We even had a fashion show. Joseph Ribkoff provided
That's right.
dresses. So we picked, 10
Yeah.
women to model. We asked who they would like to. So Ribkoff sent us the dresses. We sent it to them ahead of time.
Yes.
And then they had this fashion show on board the ship. And at the end of the show, he said that Ribkoff had gifted them all the dress.
They
And
were
that was-
shocked.
They were
shocked.
thrilled, which was
Yeah.
wonderful of Joseph Ribkoff
yeah,
to do that.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So there's lots of water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Just a quick shout out to Joy. She says she's just tuning in and she's feeling blue today.
Aw.
And we made her laugh right off the bat, so she's having a
that's
better
good.
day.
I know
which is
what those
great.
days are like.
Absolutely, Joy.
You
we
know,
all
there's
have
nothing
those
like a good
days.
belly laugh. This is
Yeah.
this is the lady that gives me the belly laughs.
Yeah, absolutely.
A good belly laugh is the best medicine.
It
right?
is. It is.
Yeah.
Nothing makes you feel better than
Yeah.
to laugh.
Yeah.
Truly, like from deep inside. That's the best laugh, right?
Yeah, that's what I like.
Well, I think we got through everything.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We did. We just have one more insert. I know some of the people wanted to see Marlene when she was younger.
Yes, that was
So
the
we
other
do have
one. Yes.
one more insert. Let's go
Okay.
to that. So
Let's
Marlene
see
in the
here.
fashion section of the newspaper. I mean, you can say, I find it looks a lot like Rachel, I have to
Let's
say.
see here. It'll come up here in a minute.
Baby Robert.
Oh,
Little baby Robert.
Oh,
Yes, that's the days of newspapers, and
look at that.
they're always looking for content. Of course, we'd love to provide them. We did all accessories then.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was an article of my husband and
Hey,
I.
Robert.
Yeah, and look at him.
little
He's
bear.
30 now. And I
There's your
father.
mom.
There's mom. Yeah, look at how elegant. I looks like I got her hair now.
These are great
Yeah,
pictures.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
those are hanging outside Marlene's office now.
Yeah.
So everybody can see
Yeah.
them. They're fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of, 47, we opened in December of 1978.
A
So,
long time.
a long
That's a
years.
long time
Yeah,
for retail
yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were too in the
it's
business.
tough. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Lots of stories to tell.
Lots of
so-
stories. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I hope you enjoyed our first QMA.
Who's next on
AMA.
this? Who's next on this?
I'm next, and
Oh.
Elaine is interviewing me.
Oh.
And then Stephanie will interview Elaine,
Okay.
and then Lisa will interview Steffi. So we're gonna domino it all the way
Perfect.
This is
down
kind
the
of like a
list.
summer series.
Yeah.
Sure,
Before
yeah,
Well,
our
it's a little
fall.
fun. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we have the time. We thought this would be kind of fun, and we may air one at night, and just whenever we can, and we're going to pop them in. So it's just kind of a fun thing, and we'll let you know when we'll be back with another one. But we are back tomorrow.
This afternoon, 1 p.m.
Oh yes, that's right. For some reason I keep thinking it's Thursday. It's Wednesday, so we're back with our French show this afternoon at 1 p.m. live with Elaine and Richelle.
And today we'll be streaming hopefully on our French Facebook page.
Yes, we have 100 followers
We
on
have,
our French. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much, ladies, for.
Yeah.
We want to go into the French market more.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of us speak.
We're in
So many
Ottawa.
speak French. We're in Ottawa, bilingual country, and so Elaine is heading that task. Styli Silhouette.
That's right,
Oui,
Styli
c'est ça.
1 p.m.
Ça, ouais, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Non. Qu'est-ce que c'est en français?
13h.
13 heures.
13.
That's right, 13 hours. Yeah, wonderful.
All right. Well, this is
All
when
right.
you were gentle. Thank you.
They were nice questions. Thank you for sending them in.